In the year 2147, humanity had known for a long time that they were not alone in the universe. Scientists and researchers had found proof of alien life many years ago, but no one ever thought aliens would reach out to humans for help. That changed one quiet evening when deep space monitoring stations picked up a strange signal from far away. It was a message from another galaxy, and it was clear. We are under attack. Our survival depends on your assistance. The signal was sent multiple times, as if the sender hoped someone, anyone, would hear it. When the recording reached Commander Jack Miller at Earth's Orbital Defense Headquarters, he felt a chill run down his spine. He listened carefully, replaying the transmission several times. The voice was calm but full of urgency. Jack knew this was something big, something that could change everything about how humans saw themselves in the universe. But there was a problem. Humanity wasn't ready for this kind of situation. Earth itself was still recovering from decades of internal struggles over resources and power. Many nations didn't trust each other, and governments argued constantly about what to do next. Sending a fleet into space to fight an unknown enemy seemed like madness. Yet ignoring the call for help also felt wrong. After hours of heated debates, the leaders finally made a decision. They wouldn't send their best ships or most experienced crews. Instead, they would send their weakest fleet, hoping it would be enough, or at least buy them some time. The task fell to Captain Laura Bennett, a seasoned but somewhat forgotten officer who commanded the aging cruiser U.S. Horizon *. The ship was old, built originally as a cargo transport vessel before being modified with outdated weapon systems. It was slow, unreliable, and certainly not designed for combat. Still, it was all they were willing to risk. Laura accepted the mission without hesitation, though she couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a routine assignment. When Laura arrived at the docking bay, she met her crew for the first time. They were a mix of people who hadn't exactly excelled in their careers. There was Lieutenant Ryan Carter, a talented but reckless pilot who always seemed to get into trouble. Then there was Dr. Samantha Brooks, a brilliant scientist whose sharp tongue often rubbed people the wrong way. Other members included Ensign Daniel Hayes, a nervous young man fresh out of training, and Chief Engineer Patricia Pat Green, a tough woman with a knack for fixing things even when they seemed beyond repair. As the crew gathered in the ship's dimly lit briefing room, Laura explained the mission. She told them they were heading to a distant part of space to assist an alien civilization under attack. She didn't sugarcoat the risks. They were flying into unknown territory against an enemy they knew nothing about. But she also reminded them why they were chosen. "They picked us because we're survivors," she said firmly. "We may not have the best equipment or the most experience, but we've got heart. And sometimes, that's enough." The room stayed silent after her speech. Some looked scared, others skeptical. No one believed this mission would be easy, or even successful. But deep down, they all understood one thing. This was their chance to prove themselves. Whether they liked it or not, humanity's fate now rested in their hands. The *U.S. Horizon * wasn't much to look at. Its metal hull was scratched and dented from years of use, and its engines groaned like an old man climbing stairs. The ship had been patched up so many times that some joked it was held together by duct tape and hope. Inside, the corridors were narrow, the lighting was dim, and the air always smelled faintly of oil and burnt wiring. It wasn't the kind of vessel anyone would choose for a dangerous mission. But then again, the crew wasn't exactly the best either. Captain Laura Bennett stood on the bridge, staring out at the vast emptiness of space. She knew her crew well enough to understand their strengths and their flaws. Lieutenant Ryan Carter, the pilot, was brilliant when it came to flying, but his habit of ignoring orders made him unpredictable. Dr. Samantha Brooks, the xenobiologist, could solve almost any problem involving alien life forms, but her blunt personality often rubbed people the wrong way. Ensign Daniel Hayes, fresh out of training, looked like he might faint every time someone mentioned combat. And Chief Engineer Patricia Pat Green, while incredibly skilled, had a temper that could flare up at the slightest provocation. Laura called a meeting in the cramped briefing room to go over the details of the mission one more time. As the crew filed in, she noticed the tension hanging heavy in the air. Some slouched in their chairs, avoiding eye contact. Others fidgeted nervously, glancing around the room as if searching for reassurance they weren't going to find. "All right," Laura began, leaning forward on the table. "We've got our orders. We're heading to these coordinates." She tapped a map displayed on the screen behind her, "to help an alien species under attack. They've asked for our help, and we're what Earth is willing to give them." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "What exactly are we supposed to do against an enemy we know nothing about?" "We're not soldiers, Captain. This ship isn't even armed properly." "I know," Laura replied calmly, "but we're all we've got. Our job is simple: assess the situation, offer whatever aid we can, and stay alive while doing it. If things get worse, we'll retreat, but let's focus on what we can do instead of what we can't." Dr. Brooks crossed her arms. "And what if they expect us to fight? What if they think we're some kind of saviors?" "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Laura said firmly. "For now, we prepare. Pat, I want you to double-check the weapon systems. Make sure everything works, even if it's just for show. Ryan, you'll be handling evasive maneuvers if things turn ugly. Sam, study everything we have on alien biology. We don't know who or what we're dealing with out there. Daniel, keep monitoring communications. If anything changes, I need to know immediately." The crew nodded reluctantly, each retreating to their stations to begin preparations. Over the next few days, the mood aboard the Horizon remained tense. Ryan spent hours practicing flight simulations, pushing the old ship to its limits. Pat worked tirelessly in the engine room, muttering under her breath as she fixed one issue after another. Sam buried herself in research, poring over files and diagrams late into the night. Even Daniel found ways to contribute, triple-checking navigation charts and running system diagnostics. Despite their differences, the crew slowly started pulling together. They shared meals in the mess hall, exchanging stories about their lives back on Earth. Laura joined them sometimes, listening quietly as they talked about families, dreams, and regrets. She realized that beneath their rough exteriors, they were just ordinary people thrust into an extraordinary situation. As the Horizon approached the edge of human-controlled space, the reality of their mission began to sink in. None of them truly believed they could make a difference against an advanced alien enemy. But deep down, they wanted to try. For the first time since the mission began, a flicker of determination replaced the doubt in their eyes. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. After weeks of traveling through the vast emptiness of space, the US Horizon finally arrived at the coordinates provided by the aliens. The crew gathered on the bridge, their eyes glued to the main view screen as the ship emerged from hyperspace. What they saw left them speechless. Floating amidst a field of asteroids was an enormous alien city. It looked like something out of a dream or a nightmare. Towering spires made of shimmering metal reached toward the stars, glowing faintly in the dim light of a distant sun. The structures were connected by intricate networks of bridges and pathways, forming a sprawling metropolis unlike anything the crew had ever seen. But it wasn't just the beauty of the city that caught their attention. It was the destruction surrounding it. Chunks of debris floated silently in every direction, remnants of ships and buildings torn apart by battle. Scorch marks covered some of the surviving structures, evidence of intense fighting. In the distance, flashes of light revealed ongoing skirmishes between smaller vessels. The scene was chaotic, desperate, and utterly alien. Before anyone could say a word, a bright light appeared near the bow of the Horizon. A massive shape materialized before them, an insectoid creature easily 3 times the size of a human. Its exoskeleton gleamed with iridescent colors, shifting like oil on water. Multiple limbs moved gracefully as it hovered in place, studying the human ship with large, multifaceted eyes. Moments later, a shimmering hologram appeared beside it, a humanoid figure speaking in a language no one understood. Dr. Samantha Brooks quickly activated her translation device, which began decoding the message. "They're introducing themselves," she said after a moment. "They call themselves the Zorathians. Their leader is named Elder." Elder's voice came through the speakers, calm but tinged with urgency. Through the translator, he explained that his people had been under attack for months by another species, the Vokar. The Vokar were ruthless conquerors who sought to destroy any civilization they deemed a threat. Despite their best efforts, the Zorathians were losing the war. Desperate, they had sent out a plea for help across the galaxy, hoping anyone, would answer. Laura stepped forward, addressing the hologram. "We've come to assist you," she said carefully, unsure how much the Zorathians could understand. "Tell us what we can do." The Zorathians hesitated, their glowing eyes scanning the horizon doubtfully. Elder's response came slowly. "Your vessel is small. Your weapons, primitive. Can you truly aid us?" Ryan muttered under his breath. "Great. Even the aliens think we're useless." Laura ignored him, keeping her tone steady. "We may not have the strongest fleet, but we'll do everything we can to help. Tell us about your enemy." Elder nodded, sharing grim details about the Vokar. They were relentless, using advanced technology to overwhelm their opponents. Their ships were fast and heavily armed, capable of tearing through defenses with ease. Worse still, the Vokar showed no mercy. Entire worlds had already fallen to their attacks. As the briefing continued, the crew realized the enormity of the task ahead. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a fight for survival, for both the Zorathians and humanity. If the Vokar defeated the Zorathians, Earth might be next. Back on the bridge, Laura turned to her team. "All right, here's the plan. We'll assess their remaining forces and coordinate with them to hold off the Vokar until we figure out a way to turn the tide. Pat, I want you to start analyzing their tech. Maybe we can find a weakness. Sam, keep working on understanding their biology. There might be something we can exploit. Ryan, prepare for combat. We're going to need every trick you've got." The crew nodded, determination replacing their earlier uncertainty. As the horizon docked near the Zorathian city, the crew prepared to step into the unknown. For better or worse, they were now part of this alien war, and failure was not an option. Not long after docking near the Zorathian city, alarms blared across the US horizon. Ensign Daniel Hayes, sitting at the communications console, shouted over the noise. "Captain, multiple enemy ships are approaching fast." Laura rushed to the bridge, her heart pounding. On the view screen, sleek black vessels emerged from behind the asteroids, their shapes sharp and menacing. The Vokar had arrived. Without hesitation, Laura gave the order. "Ryan, get us out of here. Pat, divert all power to the shields." The horizon lurched as Ryan pushed the engines to their limits, weaving through a barrage of laser fire. The ship groaned under the strain, its outdated systems struggling to keep up. Despite its age, Ryan's skill kept them alive, narrowly dodging blasts that would have torn the hull apart. "Shields are holding. For now," Pat called out, her hands flying over the controls. "But we can't take much more of this." Dr. Samantha Brooks leaned over her station, analyzing readings from the battle. Her eyes widened as she spotted something unusual. "Wait, their weapons. It's like they're targeting specific frequencies. If we adjust our shield harmonics, we might be able to deflect some of their attacks." "Do it," Laura ordered. Sam relayed the instructions to Pat, who quickly made the adjustments. Moments later, a volley of enemy fire bounced harmlessly off the horizon's shields. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, but there was no time to celebrate. More Vokar ships surrounded them, cutting off any chance of escape. "We need to help the Zorathians," Laura said firmly. If we don't turn the tide soon, we'll lose them, and ourselves. Ryan gritted his teeth, pushing the Horizon closer to the fray. Using quick maneuvers, he positioned the ship between the Vokar and a group of fleeing Zorethian fighters. The move drew heavy fire, but it gave the aliens a chance to regroup. Over the comms, Elder's voice crackled with gratitude. Your actions honored you, but the battle is far from won. As the fight raged on, Sam continued studying fragments of destroyed Vokar ships recovered during earlier skirmishes. Her brow furrowed in concentration as she pieced together data. Finally, she turned to Laura with a spark of hope in her eyes. I think I've found something. They're shields. They rely on a specific frequency to function. If we can disrupt that frequency, we can disable their defenses. How do we do that? Laura asked. It's risky, Sam admitted. We'd need to get close enough to their flagship to deploy an EMP pulse. Too far away, and it won't work. But if we succeed, we could cripple their entire fleet. Laura glanced at Ryan, who nodded grimly. Leave it to me. With the plan set, Laura gathered a small strike team. Ryan volunteered immediately, refusing to let anyone else take the risk. Joining him were two unlikely allies. Daniel, whose knowledge of navigation systems would be crucial, and Pat, whose engineering skills would ensure the EMP device worked properly. Though Daniel looked pale with fear, he didn't back down. I'm ready, he said quietly. Let's do this. The team boarded a small shuttle and launched toward the Vokar flagship, using debris from the battlefield as cover. As they approached, the sheer size of the enemy vessel became clear. It loomed above them, bristling with weapons and glowing faintly with energy. Getting inside wouldn't be easy. Ryan flew the shuttle with precision, dodging turrets and smaller patrol ships. When they finally reached the flagship, Pat hacked into its docking bay controls, forcing the massive doors open. Inside, the team moved cautiously, knowing one wrong step could mean disaster. The corridors were eerily quiet, lined with pulsating walls that seemed alive. This place gives me the creeps, Pat muttered, clutching her toolkit tightly. Focus, Ryan whispered. We don't have much time. They reached the central chamber where the shield generator was located. Pat got to work setting up the EMP device, while Ryan and Daniel stood guard. Suddenly, a group of Vokar soldiers appeared, their insect-like forms towering over the humans. A fierce firefight erupted, with Ryan and Daniel holding them off as best they could. I'm almost done, Pat shouted, her fingers flying over the controls. Just as the Vokar closed in, Pat activated the EMP. A surge of energy rippled through the flagship, disabling its shields and plunging the area into darkness. The team barely had time to cheer before racing back to the shuttle. As they escaped, the Vokar fleet faltered, giving the Zorethians and the Horizon a fighting chance. The battle wasn't over, but for the first time, hope began to shine through. The EMP pulse worked exactly as planned. The Vokar flagship's shields collapsed, leaving it vulnerable to attack. Back on the US Horizon Laura wasted no time taking advantage of the situation. Target their flagship, she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Fire everything we've got. The crew sprang into action. Pat rerouted all available power to the ship's aging weapon systems, while Ryan maneuvered the Horizon into position. Though the cruiser wasn't built for combat, its retrofitted cannons still packed a punch. With precise aim, they unleashed a barrage of fire at the crippled Vokar vessel. Explosions lit up its hull, sending shards of metal spiraling into space. The Zorethians, seeing their chance, joined the assault. Their sleek fighters darted around the larger Vokar ships, targeting weak points with surgical precision. For the first time since the battle began, the tide started to turn. The once unstoppable Vokar fleet was now struggling to hold its ground. Inside the Vokar flagship, Ryan, Pat, and Daniel raced back toward their shuttle. The corridors were dark and eerily silent, save for the distant hum of failing systems. Pat clutched the EMP device tightly, making sure it stayed intact. "We did it," she said between breaths. "Their shields are down. Now let's get out of here before this whole thing blows." But their escape wouldn't be easy. As they rounded a corner, they were ambushed by a group of Vokar soldiers. The insectoid creatures hissed, their razor-sharp claws glinting in the dim light. Ryan raised his weapon, firing off quick bursts to keep them at bay. "Pat, go," he shouted. "Get to the shuttle." Pat hesitated for a moment, then nodded and sprinted ahead. Daniel followed close behind, clutching a small handheld blaster. Though he trembled with fear, he managed to fire off a few shots, buying Ryan some time. But the Vokar kept coming, swarming closer with every second. "Daniel, take cover," Ryan yelled, diving behind a fallen piece of debris. He fired again, taking down 2 more enemies, but his ammunition was running low. Just as the Vokar closed in, Daniel stepped forward, his hands shaking. "I'll hold them off," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Before Ryan could stop him, Daniel charged forward, firing wildly. His bravery gave Ryan the opening he needed to slip past and catch up with Pat. By the time Ryan reached the shuttle, Pat was already inside, frantically working the controls. "Where's Daniel?" she asked, panic in her voice. Ryan shook his head, guilt etched across his face. He didn't make it. Moments later, the shuttle launched just as the Vokar flagship erupted in a massive explosion. The shockwave rocked the shuttle violently, but Ryan's piloting skills kept them steady. On the view screen, they watched as the remaining Vokar ships began retreating, their formation breaking apart under relentless attacks from the Zorathians and the Asterisk Horizon Asterisk. Back aboard the Asterisk U.S. Horizon Asterisk, the crew cheered as victory finally seemed within reach. Laura stood on the bridge, watching the battered Vokar fleet disappear into the distance. She felt a surge of pride, not just for her crew, but for Daniel, whose sacrifice had saved them all. Turning to the others, she said softly, "We couldn't have done this without him." As the adrenaline faded, exhaustion set in. The Asterisk Horizon Asterisk was heavily damaged, its engine sputtering and its hull scorched from countless impacts. Pat worked tirelessly in the engine room, trying to keep the ship operational long enough to return home. Sam sat quietly in the lab, staring at the data collected during the mission. Even Ryan, usually so brash and confident, seemed subdued, his thoughts lingering on Daniel's final moments. Elder, the Zorathian leader, contacted the Asterisk Horizon Asterisk one last time. His holographic form shimmered faintly as he spoke. "You have saved us when we thought all hope was lost. Your courage will not be forgotten." Laura nodded, though her expression remained somber. "We did what we had to do, but the cost was high." As the Asterisk Horizon Asterisk prepared to leave Zorathian space, the crew gathered in the mess hall for a quiet moment of reflection. They shared stories about Daniel, remembering his nervous laugh and unwavering determination. Though none of them had believed in their mission at first, they now understood that even the weakest among them could achieve greatness when it mattered most. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time, the crew of the Asterisk Horizon Asterisk felt like true heroes, even if no one back on Earth would ever know what they had done. The battle was over, but the scars it left behind were impossible to ignore. The Asterisk U.S. Horizon Asterisk limped through space, its engine sputtering and its hull battered from countless impacts. Inside, the crew worked tirelessly to keep the ship running, patching up damage as best they could. Chief Engineer Pat Green spent hours in the engine room, her hands blackened with grease, as she coaxed the aging systems back to life. "This bucket of bolts has seen better days," she muttered to herself, tightening a loose bolt. But despite her frustration, there was pride in her voice. The old ship had held together when it mattered most. On the bridge, Captain Laura Bennett stared out at the stars, her mind replaying the events of the past few days. She thought about Daniel, whose bravery had saved them all. His sacrifice weighed heavily on her, but she also felt a deep sense of gratitude for him and for every member of her crew. They had started this mission as misfits, doubting their own abilities, but they had risen to the challenge when it counted. Laura knew they would carry Daniel's memory with them forever. Dr. Samantha Brooks sat alone in the lab, surrounded by data collected during the mission. Her sharp eyes scanned the information, searching for anything that might help humanity understand the Voker or prepare for another encounter. Though the immediate threat was gone, Sam couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end. The Voker were still out there, and they wouldn't forget what had happened here. For now, though, she focused on the Zorathians, analyzing their biology and technology. "We've got so much to learn from them," she said quietly, jotting down notes. Lieutenant Ryan Carter stood by the viewport in the mess hall, staring at the distant glow of the Zorathian city. He hadn't spoken much since returning from the Vokar flagship. The weight of Daniel's death hung over him like a shadow, and he couldn't stop thinking about the moment his friend had stepped forward to hold off the enemy. He didn't deserve that, Ryan whispered to himself, clenching his fists. But even in his grief, he felt a flicker of determination. Daniel's sacrifice had given them a chance to survive, and Ryan wasn't about to waste it. As the Horizon prepared to leave Zorathian space, Elder contacted the ship one last time. His holographic form shimmered into view, towering above the crew on the bridge. "Your actions have saved not only our people, but perhaps your own as well," he said, his voice calm but filled with emotion. "The Vokar will not forget this defeat, but neither will we forget your courage." Laura nodded, her expression serious. "Thank you for trusting us, even when we doubted ourselves. We'll do everything we can to make sure Earth is ready if the Vokar return." Elder extended a claw-like hand, which glowed softly. "Take this gift as a token of our gratitude." A stream of data appeared on the ship's consoles, containing advanced knowledge about Zorathian technology and science. It was more than anyone had expected, and the crew realized the importance of what they'd been given. This alliance marked the beginning of something new, a partnership between humans and aliens that could shape the future of both species. When the transmission ended, Laura turned to her crew. "We've been through something none of us will ever forget. We came here as strangers, but we're leaving as survivors. And maybe, just maybe, we've made a difference." The journey back to Earth would take weeks, but the mood aboard the Horizon had changed. The tension and doubt that once filled the air were replaced by quiet resolve. They weren't the same people who had left Earth, unsure of their purpose. Now, they knew exactly who they were and what they were capable of. As the ship drifted through the vast emptiness of space, each crew member found solace in their own way. Pat tinkered with the engines, humming softly to herself. Sam pored over the Zorathian data, her mind racing with possibilities. Ryan stared out at the stars, vowing to honor Daniel's memory by becoming a better version of himself. And Laura stood on the bridge, watching over her crew like a proud parent. They had faced the unknown and come out stronger on the other side. Though the road ahead would be long, they carried with them the lessons of this mission and the hope that even the weakest among us can change the course of history. The US Horizon finally returned to Earth after weeks of slow, grueling travel. The ship's battered hull told the story of everything it and its crew had endured. When it docked at the orbital station, officials and engineers swarmed around it, marveling at how such an old, outdated vessel had managed to survive a battle against an advanced alien enemy. For Captain Laura Bennett and her crew, stepping off the ship felt strange. They were no longer the misfits who had left Earth unsure of themselves. Now they carried the weight of their experiences and the knowledge that they had done something extraordinary. News of the mission spread quickly, though not everyone on Earth understood the full scope of what had happened. To most people, it was just another story about humanity reaching out to the stars. But for those in charge, the implications were clear. The Zorethians' gift of advanced knowledge opened doors no one had thought possible. Scientists began studying the data, eager to learn how to improve Earth's technology and defenses. Politicians talked about forming alliances with other alien species, preparing for a future where humanity might not be alone in the galaxy. Laura and her crew were called to a meeting with Earth's leaders. Sitting in a large, brightly lit room, they faced a panel of generals, scientists, and politicians. At first, the questions were cautious, almost skeptical. "Why did you succeed?" One general asked bluntly. "You were given the weakest fleet. No one expected you to come back alive." Laura leaned forward, her voice calm but firm. "We succeeded because we didn't give up. We worked together, trusted each other, and made the most of what we had. It wasn't about having the best weapons or the fastest ship. It was about heart. And sometimes that's enough." Her words resonated with the room, though not everyone seemed convinced. Still, the leaders couldn't deny the results. The crew of the Horizon had saved an entire alien civilization, and possibly Earth itself, from destruction. Their actions proved that even the smallest efforts could have a big impact. After the meeting, Laura and her crew returned to their lives, though nothing felt quite the same. Ryan spent hours flying simulations, pushing himself harder than ever before. He carried Daniel's dog tags with him everywhere, a constant reminder of his friend's sacrifice. Pat went back to work in the engine rooms, but she found herself smiling more often, proud of what she and her team had accomplished. Sam threw herself into research, determined to unlock the secrets of the Zorethian data. And Laura, she stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, gazing at the stars, thinking about the journey ahead. For all the challenges they had faced, the crew knew their mission wasn't truly over. The Vokar were still out there, and the universe was vast and unpredictable. But they also knew they weren't alone anymore. Humanity had taken its first steps toward becoming part of a larger galactic community, thanks to the bravery of a few unlikely heroes. One evening, the crew gathered for a quiet dinner together. They laughed, shared stories, and remembered Daniel. "He'd hate all this attention," Ryan said with a grin, holding up his glass. "But he'd be proud of us." They clinked their glasses together, a simple gesture of unity and gratitude. Though they came from different backgrounds and had started as strangers, they had become a family. Together, they had faced the unknown and proven that even the weakest among them could rise to greatness. As they parted ways for the night, Laura looked at each of them, feeling a deep sense of pride. They weren't perfect, and they certainly weren't invincible, but they had shown the world, and themselves, that courage and determination could overcome even the toughest odds. And maybe, just maybe, that was the most important lesson of all. The stars outside shone brighter than ever, calling to them, promising new adventures and challenges. Whatever lay ahead, the crew of the US Horizon knew one thing for certain: they were ready.